When you're tech shopping on a budget, you obviously consider new and used devices because ultimately you want to find the best bang for your buck tablet or phone or laptop that suits your needs in particular. And that's why I want to compare two similarly priced but different iPads in terms of when they were released, the hardware inside and their sizes. And these are the iPad 8th gen and the original iPad Pro from 2015, the 12.9 inch. They come in at around like $300 to $400 depending on what size and capacity you get. So let's get into this comparison here. It's going to be interesting. But before we continue, I encourage you to like this video if you want to, if it merits a like from you. I've had people be like, oh, I don't want to like your video if you ask me to. If you want to, please do. It does help. Engagement is great. Leave a comment if you have any questions, suggestions, or opinions, and click the bell icon if you're subscribed. It does help the channel out a lot. So as I may have already said, the reason why I want to compare these two tablets is because they are similar in price. The 8th gen goes for $329 to $429 depending on what capacity you get, and then the iPad Pro 2015 12.9 inch goes from like $350 to $450 used depending on what condition it's in and what capacity it is. Both of these start out at 32 gigs, which is something that kind of sucks, I gotta say. In 2020, 32 gigs is definitely not enough for most people, especially if you want to store photos and movies and if you want to do any sort of creative work. But you can work with it. I mean, if you're doing web-based tasks, you should be fine, but still, it's sort of cutting it as of right now. They both also have similar display technology, despite the fact that the sizes are way different here. We have a 10.2 inch display diagonally with the iPad 8th gen, and obviously a 12.9 inch display with the Pro. Both have a similar refresh rate, or an identical refresh rate, that's 60 hertz on both of these. This is not a ProMotion enabled iPad. The first gen ones were not. This also doesn't have True Tone in here, just like the iPad 8th gen, so these displays are generally a little bit cooler in their color temperature. They don't adjust to the color temperature of your room. They also have a similar PPI, if not identical PPI, meaning that they have the same sharpness. Like one display isn't sharper than the other. They have similar brightness as far as I can tell. And of course, they both support usage with the Apple Pencil first gen here, which is nice, and we'll get into note-taking and other productivity-oriented tasks in a minute here. Another major difference I want to highlight besides the obvious screen size difference is with performance, or the chips on the inside here. And bigger doesn't mean better in this case. The iPad 8th gen has the A12 Bionic now, which is a newer-ish processor, and it performs very nicely for baseline iPad here compared to the iPad Pro, which has a last gen A9X chip. Performance is essentially doubled, especially in multi-core scores. Here we have 1116 with the iPad 8th gen, 626 with the iPad Pro here, and then 2671 up from 1218, so more than double the performance in terms of multi-core scores. The GPU is better, so basically if you want to do heavier tasks like video editing or gaming, you're gonna want to buy this tablet. It's going to be better. But in terms of everyday usage here, I mean, obviously the iPad 8th gen is going to be a little bit more snappy, especially with regard to animations, but I mean, this tablet is still kicking. I mean, you can do everyday stuff here, web surfing, absolutely no problem here. Look at that, that just opened up a web page here with a bunch of images. Like, this thing still runs beautifully here. I can open up the Apple website and I can compare that to my iPad, 8th gen here. Yes, it might be a bit more snappy in everyday performance, but I mean, is it that much of a difference? And if you want a bigger display, which I'll talk about next here, maybe this isn't worth it to you. But I will say though, in terms of longevity, in terms of updates, this is going to be receiving more. This is more on its last leg. But let's just say you want the bigger screen. You've seen the new iPad Pro in person, or at least you're more familiar with the screen size, and you need it for note-taking and or drawing, and you don't necessarily need all the performance, then I might consider picking up the bigger iPad here. I can demo, like sketching and drawing in notes real quick. So here are these tablets, and I gotta say, I could use the iPad 8th gen absolutely no problem. There is enough room to comfortably note take and sketch and draw here. Here I can like switch to the pencil and do some like shading or whatever. Like, you could definitely do this comfortably, no issues whatsoever, and the extra performance might be worth it to you. But to me personally, I prefer a bigger tablet to do note taking with for two reasons. Number one, you just have more horizontal space to write. So let me like thicken up this pen here, and yeah, you can just like write and there's more room to go across. And I don't know, I just like, bigger is better in this case, I will say. But another thing is that you can have secondary windows open here and you have more space than you would with the 10.2 inch. So I can have like a web page open here, I can have it slim like this, but I could still read stuff better, it's bigger. So yeah, like the screen real estate with the 12.9 inch is definitely something to consider. You also get a bigger keyboard with this. I can do a spotlight search here to show you. You have a full number row here. And not only that, another thing is both of these tablets support or have a smart connector, which is nice. So you can use Apple's first-party keyboard accessories, which are nice, by the way. The smart keyboard is definitely an accessory to consider, and it does work with the iPad 12.9 inch right here, the iPad Pro 12.9 inch. You can always pick up a used accessory for cheaper too, so that's another thing to think about. But with the iPad Pro here, with this bigger one, you're gonna get a bigger keyboard, which is nicer to type on. But what I will say, like the 10.2 inch form factor here, it's not bad at all. It's not too small, but if you want extra screen real estate, a substantial amount of extra screen real estate, then I would consider sacrificing some performance for exactly that. It's gonna be better for movie watching if you wanna hold this behemoth thing. It's gonna be better for sketching and drawing and multitasking. It's better for, once again, a virtual keyboard, as you can see here. And personally, if I were in your shoes and I had around $400 to spend on a tablet, I might honestly look for a last gen 12.9 inch iPad Pro. Maybe I'd spend a little bit more on the 2017 model for promotion and a better processor, but in this case here, I might opt for the bigger tablet because although once again the performance isn't exactly stellar, it's not the best, it's still more than good enough for everyday performance in YouTube and music listening and movie watching and texting. Like, this device still performs very nicely. This one is just snappier though. All right, so let's first start off with the iPad 8th gen. And here's the 12.9 inch now. Okay, immediate difference. This sounds smaller, this sounds not as loud, this sounds fuller. Even like 5 years later, this tablet sounds way better than the 8th gen here. So yeah, hands down, audio is much better. Although I will say both of these tablets have headphone jacks, so if you're into listening to any kind of media with wired headphones, it really will make a difference. But yeah, the speakers on here are way, way better, even once again, 5 years later. So yeah, ultimately both of these tablets are viable options as of right now. I guess my final recommendations are, if you want performance and longevity and a newer battery and possibly a better price, go with the 8th gen, play it safe. This is probably the safer bet. But if you do want a bigger display like me, and if you don't need the best performance in terms of everyday tasks, and you think that the A9X will handle everything you need it to do with ease, then the iPad Pro 12.9 inch 2015 model might be the iPad for you. It has a bigger display once again, and if that's what you want, then this might be worth it. You also get better speakers as we just demoed here, and yeah, it's a very enjoyable device as of right now. But again, I could more so recommend this tablet because it is newer and it isn't degraded and used, and it's easier to attain, I would say, and in some cases it is cheaper. So yeah, that is my assessment here. But again, if I were in your shoes and I wanted a bigger iPad, this is not a bad option either. And that about wraps things up here. I hope this video was helpful and interesting, and hopefully you found the right budget iPad for you. If you were considering these two, I'd really appreciate it once again if you leave a like, comment if you have any questions, suggestions, or opinions, and subscribe for more content like this. And for my audience, for the people who actually care about me and this channel, I'm sorry about the infrequent uploads. I have been catching up with school. It is starting to kick my ass just a little bit, but yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to balance the two. But I got this studio now, and I'm able to film or create whenever I want without people screaming in the background, so that is an improvement. And I'm really excited for this month. October is going to be great with Pixel 5 and the new iPhones and new iPads coming out. I'm going to get my hands on iPad Air 4 and cover that for you guys, so stay tuned for more content coming from me. And yeah, as always, I'm Noah, and I will catch you all in the next one.